the May 20th, 2021 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. This is a regular meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. As this is a virtual meeting, we are broadcasting via a computer, via a Cisco WebEx, and to participate via computer or mobile device, please access the Cisco WebEx event at this meeting link, which is on the township website. That's how we all joined tonight. To participate by phone, please call 1-408-418-9388 and enter the meeting code 173-995-3030. So, Mr. Petto, could you call the roll, please?
Sure. It's Chair Bennett.
Present.
Vice Chair Hyman is excused this evening. Mr. Rooney? I see you, Mr. Rooney. You're just on mute.
There we go. Here.
Okay. Ms. Kane-Levy?
Present.
Mr. Greenbaum is absent at this time. Mr. Reimnitz?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. Connolly?
Here.
And Mr. Karasik?
Yeah, I'm here. And Mr. Graham, did you take the oath for this commission, or?
I took the oath for the planning board. I'd be happy to take the oath for the HPC as well.
Okay, I don't know, Graham, if you have any oaths, or otherwise I'll grab one off the wall here.
Hang on one second. I can actually pull it up. I do have the oath.
I got one.
Do you have one quicker? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ira.
It's mine, but it'll do. Okay, repeat after me. I, and then your name.
I, Michael Graham,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States and in this state,
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of Commissioner on the Historic Preservation Commission
perform all the duties of Commissioner on the Historic Preservation Committee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Great. Congratulations. You're now a member of the Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ira.
Glad to join you.
Yes, please everyone welcome me in welcoming Michael Graham, our latest, newest commission member. And as he mentioned before, he will also be the liaison for the HPC with the planning board. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Kathy.
The next order of business is the approval of the minutes from April 15th, 2021. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes or any comments?
I do not.
No?
No.
No.
If no one else does, I have a few, if I may mention to tweak. On page 1, the number 4 of the recommendations, number 4, it said they should be finished, and it's about the railings, the porch railings, and they should be of wood or a material similar to wood, which we talked, I don't know if you could use that language, but it's either hardy plank or fiber cement. I think we made that stipulation so that it didn't come up as iron railings. And then on page 2, line 11, if you would change just the words, the commission also noted that the proposed structure, I can't even read my writing. Complements the existing building.
This is page 2. Where's that?
Page 2, line 11. Says the commission also noted that the proposed structure complements the existing building. And then the same page, line 33. And I know that this has already been, the zoning board already looked at this, but we said that the windows, the original windows should be maintained on the first floor, consistent with the style of the first floor windows, which should be maintained. So if there are no other changes, may I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept.
And second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. And Graham, do we have anybody on the phone for public comment?
I just see the four of the applicants for this evening. I don't see anyone for just general public comment. So I'll
Okay,
do due diligence and I'll unmute everybody and see if anybody has any public comment. So members of the public, the lines are now open. If you have any public comments that you'd like to make, you can just make them at this time. Just please state your name. Okay, I'm not hearing any at this time.
Okay, so the public comment session of the meeting is closed as there's nobody on the phone. And we will move to committee reports. So the first one that's up, which is the revisions committee. And maybe John, you could report on what we saw down on Park Street and Bloomfield Avenue last week when we looked at the mural.
Oh, yeah. This was a mural. What's the name of the new restaurant that's going in there?
Oh, it's a Greek restaurant. Is it-
I did not provide a name.
Uh-huh. At any rate, we were looking at what was being proposed was tearing down a stucco and tile facade, portion of the facade that was really beginning to fall apart. And looking at, they had proposed some murals. Start my video here. They were proposing some murals for us to look at. At the end of the day, it was suggested that they come back and come up with something that had some historical references to Montclair, maybe some murals of old photos or whatever. So they seem to be very eager to please us and do whatever. And I guess they're going to come before this board at some point, right?
Yeah, just in furtherance of that, John, thank you. Just for clarification for everyone else in attendance, this is an inquirer had reached out. They're planning to file an application, and before they did, they wanted a little bit of guidance and direction. So we held a subcommittee meeting to give them a little bit of initial feedback and direction before they prepare and finalize an application to the commission. So appreciate the time that the revisions committee took to go out and take a look at the storefront. It is at the corner of Bloomfield Avenue and Park Street. Across from the Rooster. It's the second storefront bay on the eastern side of the street. The storefront has been removed and it's been infilled with this tile surface, as John mentioned. So they're looking to remove that and do some of this mural work, which John also talked about. But so this is in advance of an application, so that will be coming back. They did have me review a sample of the completed application form. They're finalizing some drawings and renderings before they submit.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that they were very eager to work with us, and I think it'll be a vast improvement on what's there. The infill has been there for, I don't know, 30 some odd years, and it was not done very well. So that is a prominent corner of the Bloomfield Avenue and Park Street intersection. I think it'll work really well. So thank you, John. Education.
We also suggested that they get in touch with the bid because of the mural program.
Oh, right.
Right.
Well, that they might have somebody that could actually paint it. They didn't know who they could get to paint. Thanks, Caroline. The Education Committee, I know that Graham has sent out notification of the New Jersey Trust, which is holding a virtual conference this year, June 3rd, 10th, and the 17th. If you haven't signed up already, please do, especially for June 3rd, because that will be the Advocacy Day, advocacy and outreach. So, Graham, have you gotten people signed up from our commission? And
yes, I've registered. Yeah, I've registered Ms. Kane Levy, Mr. Reimnitz, and you, Chair Bennett, so far for the conference. If anyone else still is interested, the township will cover the cost of attendance. It is built into the HPC budget. And so if anyone is interested in attending, you can certainly let me know. It is the New Jersey History and Historic Preservation Conference. It's obviously virtual, and it is 3 separate dates. It's June 3rd, June 10th, and June 17th. They didn't do it consecutively, which I think is good in some ways. I know sometimes these virtual conferences, you can get burned out a little bit.
Right.
And as the chair mentioned, the first date, June 3rd, is the Advocacy Day, and there's an approved session for commissioners on that date. And just in furtherance to your comment, it is important that commission members do attend a training. Montclair Township is a certified local government community with the State Historic Preservation Office. All commissioners are required to attend at least one annual training, and we report that training in our annual report to the State Historic Preservation Office. So be sure to let me know if you'd like to attend. I'll also advise if there's any other training opportunities later in the year that may come down.
And Graham, one just point of clarification. Can you sign up for only one day? Just
Yeah,
June
you can sign
3rd.
up for one day, or you can sign
Okay.
up for the entire conference.
Okay, great. So just so commission members know that. Graham, at this point, could you give us an update on the estate section survey grant?
Sure. So we're continuing to near the conclusion of the estate section survey. Our consultant team has now provided us with the final draft and all survey forms for the roughly 300 properties that have been subject to the historic survey. We're going back and forth with some final draft edits between the State Historic Preservation Office and our landmark nominations committee, which is Chair Bennett and Mr. Rooney. We're scheduled to have a meeting next Tuesday with the consultant to review, hopefully, a revised draft that incorporates the edits that have been discussed back and forth. And we anticipate a presentation by the consultant at the June HPC meeting to review the findings and their recommendations for the estate section.
Okay, great. Thank you, Graham. Do we have a time yet for Tuesday? Have they gotten back to you?
I do not have a time just yet, so.
Okay, okay.
Probably in the afternoon.
What's that?
Probably in the afternoon.
Steve is saying afternoon is better for him. You had said morning, so
Oh.
we'll have to coordinate that. We'll coordinate that tomorrow between you and Steve.
Okay.
Okay. The next committee is
Update on the other grants, Kathleen?
Oh, yes, yes.
About the grants. And then just to update on the other grant matters. So just kind of things are shifted. These are federal grants, these CLG grants I'm talking about. So the estate section is funded under the 2019 CLG grant, which was extended due to the pandemic. The 2020 CLG grant we received, the township was awarded, and that is to update the residential design guidelines for the historic design guidelines, specifically the residential standards. And this is a follow-up from the Oakcroft and Wheeler Street historic survey and the nomination process that we went through. The commission felt it was important to update the residential design standards to give a little bit more guidance and clarity to homeowners. So that RFP is now out for bid presently. It closes on June 8th. We'll be selecting the consultant in the next few weeks. And then moving forward with that work. Yes, John.
And how does the commission comment on the changes to the residential standards?
So that will be that will be similarly a review process like we're going through with the estate section, where the consultant will prepare drafts and there will be a subcommittee that will review those drafts. We haven't identified exactly what committee that will go before. Perhaps the revisions committee might be a good format to.
I would like to be part of that. So at some point,
certainly.
Get around
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then lastly, just to advise, we did submit an application for the 2021 CLG grant round. So we have, I spoke with Chapeau staff and they're a little bit overwhelmed because they have 3 overlapping grant periods at this time. So for 2021, we did submit an application earlier this year to do a survey of the Upper Montclair commuter area, which basically extends from the Upper Montclair Business District all the way northward, I think almost to Alexander Avenue. So that's a pretty broad area, but the grant amounts this year have doubled from typical $24,000 to $50,000. So we are hoping to be awarded. I did speak with Chabot staff and they indicated that it is a very competitive year given the large amount of the award. They have 16 applicants that they're working through. The committee has met and they have some recommendations, but they have not finalized their selections for awardees. Hopefully we do here soon. This will be a record streak. I think we've got 5 years in a row we've gotten this.
Yeah.
So we're on a nice run here. So
Yeah, no, it's very good. And thank you, Graham, for all the work that you've done on this. But I must say that the Upper Montclair Commuter District, we looked at the number of structures, correct, Graham? And how many were there in that? I mean,
I think it's 500 or 600. It's 500 or
Yes.
600. It's a pretty significant number. So the additional funds will certainly be helpful.
yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. And moving along to minor applications on May 17th, Ms. Kane Levy and I and Mr. Petto and our planner, Ms. Talley met, and we reviewed 5 applications. One at 2 South Willow, one at 377 Bloomfield, one at 50 Upper Montclair Plaza, one at 42 Fairfield Street, and one at 193 Bellevue Avenue. And those all had to deal with signage and awning. So we took care of that. And I believe that's all for the committee report. Oh, education and outreach. I'm going to be presenting a virtual lecture on the Nolan plan for the Montclair History Center in September. So I'll make sure to talk up the HPC at that point. So what it is, it's going to be an update of the lecture I gave about 5 years ago to the History Center. But at this point, I'll be able to go back and look at the things that the Nolan plan suggested and that maybe we have now in town, which includes the new plaza down on Seymour Street. I'm hoping that'll be a little bit further along so we can get some good pictures from that. So I think that's it for committee reports. Does anyone else have anything for committee reports?
No.
No? Okay, so moving ahead to old business. This was something that was carried, this application was carried from last month. This is application HPC 2021-13 at 11 South Fullerton Avenue, Antonio Di Benedetto. This is for a certificate of appropriateness for facade alterations at the subject property. You might remember this as being the Palazzo restaurant, which according to Graham, we just touched base on this. It's now changed hands and it's opening as a different restaurant. So 11 South Fullerton Avenue is identified in the.
We don't know if it is a restaurant or not.
Oh, you don't know?
No, we don't know who the tenant is. So yeah.
Oh, okay. I just looked at it and just assumed it was a restaurant. Okay, thank you, Graham.
That looks like it.
Yeah, so 11 South Fullerton Avenue
Looks
is
like a nail shop.
identified in,
to me.
a what?
A nail parlor.
Nail parlor. It's not a bank.
Looks like a little villagey square
Yeah.
Italian thing with people hanging out on that from the second floor window. Anyway, 11 South Fullerton Avenue is identified in the Town Center Historic District Nomination Report 2002 as a harmonizing altered building. The early 20th century commercial eclectic building was constructed around 1900. The application proposes a series of facade improvements to the building, including the following: install new metal awning above storefront and the second floor windows, new decorative railings at the second floor, new stucco sign band area, new casement wood windows with diamond grills in the second floor windows, and 2 new light fixtures on the front facade. So as Mr. Conley has noted in his review, this is a complete facade alteration. And if everyone, I hope, was everyone able to read the copy of Mr. Conley's review? I just want
We may want to bring in Mr. Guadagnoli maybe to give a review of the project. He's the architect.
Yeah, no, before, but I just want to mention that if you're confused, it says it's a second review. but in fact, we did not look at this last month. So in fact, it is the first review. So with that, whom do we have? We have the architect, Graham, on
Yeah.
deck.
John Guadagnoli. John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Hey, John, could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're going to give this commission is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Fine, could you just identify yourself again and what your relationship is to the applicant?
Yeah, it's John Guadagnoli, architect, PC. My office is in town. The applicant is my client.
Okay,
He's also
thank
the
you.
owner of the building.
Thank you, and your credentials are well established. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Guadagnoli, can you walk us through? I mentioned the 5 things that you propose to do, but
Yep.
maybe we can start. I don't know which one you want to start with.
Okay. Well, I'd like to start with the existing building, if that's okay.
Sure.
As we all know,
Wait,
it's
Graham, can you go back to the existing building picture? Okay, great. Thank you.
yeah. Currently, there are these like electric blue awnings. They're fabric awnings on the restaurant on the first floor, and as well as the 2 upper windows. By the way, the upstairs is an office space, and the downstairs was and will remain a restaurant, although not Palazzo's. Yeah, it will still be a restaurant. So anyway, so what we have is where we have it's basically a gabled roof, but it's truncated. So it looks from the street to be flat in the middle, but it angles back, but you really don't see it, you know. So we're not changing any of that. And we're also not changing that little, I guess, trim cornice piece at the edge of that roof. The brick, there's a fake brick kind of facade on it. I believe it's just like like a stucco brick, you know, where they just scratched it into the surface. I don't believe that, you know, that's definitely not real brick, you know. That's along that upper perimeter. That goes up and angled and across. The upstairs, the second level inset, which is pushed in about 4 inches or so, that is just like a smooth masonry or stuccoed surface there. And on the first floor, there are pairs of operable windows, which are practically doors. They're only a few inches off the floor, which you know, they sit on a I guess a masonry plinth along the street, and to the far right is an archway that leads to an aluminum door recessed in. I guess that's how you get upstairs. So while the upstairs is a symmetrical layout, the downstairs is asymmetrical. You know, it has the restaurant kind of squeezing that archway on the right. And the restaurant entrance is a recessed door in the middle. So in the middle of the, I guess, its own facade there. So anyway, what we're proposing is that we're not going to change any of the openings, the locations. I mean, the entrance will still be, the entrances will be wherever they are now will not change. The windows will not change except in style. We're not creating new openings or enlarging anything or reducing anything. We're just changing the windows, changing the doors. The restaurant doors on the first floor will be exchanged for new similar wood doors that extend right to the floor of the restaurant instead of having like a little curve. The owner wanted as much light and openness as possible. The current awning, which is a canvas blue awning, will be replaced with an arched projecting awning supported by ribs at 4-foot intervals. There are many models. We haven't selected the exact model of the rib yet, but they're metal. They're arched, and they bolt to the building, and they support a lightweight cover. It could be metal or something translucent, perhaps. The first floor of the new building will be of a new brick, thin brick. You know, the half-inch thick brick that's applied directly to the surface. It'll be pointed just like a real brick wall. Above that thin brick is a kind of an entablature or a string line, if you will. I call it a sign band because I think that's probably where the name of the new establishment will be. And I just gave it a little decorative platform, if you will, in the middle. I thought that would be a place to put a logo, or you know, whatever establishment is in there could put their logo in that raised central area. And really, the rest of it is the middle part of it is going to be a light blue, smooth stucco, and the above that and around it will be a textured stucco with a glazed tile edging to give it a little, you know, to ornament the edge. And it's just probably about 4 or 5 inches in width. And then we just put some ornamental wrought iron across either side to you know, across the windows. And the windows upstairs have also small metal awnings, like domed awnings that come out. And that's about it. I mean, everything is where it was. It's just that it's all changed and updated, but we're not really proposing any dramatic changes to the facade in terms of the openings. And the last thing I want to say is that if you look at the Palazzo's awning now, you'll see that it only exists over the restaurant. The new awning I'm proposing goes across the whole facade. I think that it unifies it better, and the only random thing then is the streetscape. But you know, I made the awning symmetrical to the building rather than symmetrical just to the restaurant. And that's about it. And I also recognize that you see this building from the end of Church Street. When you come to the end of Church Street, you turn and you look to the right, you see this building. So it's pretty prominent. I just did my best to make something attractive. And one last thing, that thing in the middle, it would be a wrought iron sculpture. It would be something that mimicked a plant or tree, but it would exist just right there in the center. I thought it would cast some nice shadows when the sun hits it, and at night, I think it would look very nice. So that's it.
Thank you very much. And I just would like to remind the commissioners, this is an application for a certificate of appropriateness. So, excuse me. So perhaps in your line of questioning and also then our comments, we're here to determine and discuss how this facade would fit in with the Town Center Historic District. And while Mr. Guglielmi was speaking, I just brought up historic districts in the historic design guidelines, and it's defined as having an eclectic mix representing the changing culture and aesthetic trends in the United States. So it goes from the old primary school, now home to the Board of Education, which was constructed in 1856. To accommodate the increase, which is in an Italian style, and it's our city's oldest extant school building. Also representative of the Italian night style in the commercial architecture is the Crane Block, built in 1889, which is adjacent to this building. But other styles, as I said, there's an eclectic style within the Town Center Historic District. Most were built as commercial properties, the ones that still exist. They are 1 to 3 stories high. Common building materials include brick, stone, and terracotta. Street lighting was introduced. Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with this. Okay, so just bear that in mind that we are in the Town Center Historic District, and we'll open it up now for questions from commission members. So, Mr. Rooney, you're up first.
Questions. The awning above the first floor looks like it lines up with the arch above. It seems to me it's a little off. And is there anything? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Question.
Shouldn't it have more to do with the downstairs?
Is that Is that a question for me or?
That's a
Yes,
question.
for you, John. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure I understand the comment. Like, it's off in the sense of its dimensions or its style or its placement?
Its placement and size does not really reflect what's going on the first floor. Has more to do with what's going on the second floor.
Right. Would you suggest there's something bigger, something?
Well, I would suggest maybe it goes to the end of the openings.
Mhm.
Where
Okay.
Graham
Where
is,
Graham has drawn the lines, perhaps.
yeah.
Oh, widen the awning, yes.
Yes.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Okay. Any
like
other
that.
questions, Steve?
Not really, no.
Okay, John, Mr. Reimnitz?
Yeah, I think 3 questions. One, did you do any historical research on previous facades at this location?
No, I just worked off of what I saw now. I
Okay.
did not. Yeah.
What is happening in that arch recess doorway? Are you changing out? It looks blank at the moment. I don't see the door. I see the door beyond in the photo there. Is it going to just stay as is?
Yeah, there was no discussion about it with the client, but it's like an aluminum door. You know, it's an anodized aluminum door. I see what it is. I would
But
love to change it.
you
I
are
would love.
you are replacing the door, the restaurant facade, right? The
That's
doors
correct.
exist.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Uh, you have toned in a gray color at the base of the building. Are you meaning to paint that color, or is that a new material? What is that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, my suggestion to the owner, which is what I put in, I wanted to put like a gray granite or quartz like down there because of snow and durability. It gets pretty beat up. So and it's only a small strip. You see that because we lowered the main front doors. Sorry, the main front windows. There's very little left there, but I thought it would have to be. So I wanted a dark color, a stone color. A stone, excuse me, and so it could even be a blue stone. It could be something that is durable, that a snow shovel could hit it, and it won't, it'll look good forever. So,
Okay,
so it's not
one
painted.
one
Yeah.
last question, because I guess I are the existing doors are set up on a curb above the first floor inside? Are you saying the
Yes,
whole plinth comes down to line up with the first floor level? Ah, I see. Well, I
that's
think that's,
correct.
okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Kane Levy?
Hi. In your description, you talked about the stucco being blue, light blue. Your rendering shows it as a white or a gray.
Yeah, that was a printing thing. We had it. I'm looking at it now. It's blue, and yet you're right. When we printed it, the blue didn't come forth. So that's why I'm just saying we were planning on having that like a robin's egg blue, just a light blue. That whole upstairs is intended to be like a little vignette. It's like it's a little picture that you look in. So yeah, that was the hope, to have a light blue. Field there. Yeah.
Okay, and the windows is going to just have a stained finish, not a painted finish?
Yeah, we would get like real wood windows and stain them, and with like a diamond grill. We wanted to give it an older appearance. So right now they have these like 1960s kind of aluminum modern things. So we want them out, and we're going to replace the windows.
And can you also just, these awnings, I'm not totally understanding them.
You mean the
Metal
ones
rib,
over the
translucent
windows?
ribbed, yes. And the one over the ground floor. You're describing it as a translucent ribbed awning.
Yeah, it has a shape of like an airplane wing. It has a slight arc to it, and there are these I guess they're iron or aluminum like ribs that come out. They're ornamental, and they bolt right to the building. And then you can, the arc, it could be covered with either like fabric, translucent, like lucite, or metal. You know, it could be anything. And we're still kicking that one around. It certainly won't be fabric, though. It'll probably be metal.
And
So
why did you choose not to go with a traditional fabric awning?
my client just hates them. I agree. I wanted that, but he hates them, and so I'm just really reaching out to find another solution that would work here. You know, he just doesn't like them, and that's why. So I kept the profile shallow so that I could make room for that sign band above it. You know.
All right, those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Graham?
I just had a, oh, sorry, Chair, what was that?
The way that the meetings are conducted, the applicant describes the application, and then each of the commission members ask questions. Then we look at the report by Mr. Conley, the HPC consultant, and then we go into discussion. So just wanted to clarify for you what the procedure was, and if you have any questions of the applicant at this time based on what they're showing us with this rendering.
Thank you. Yeah, just wanted to clarify something. The photos have exterior lights on the first floor. Will those be remaining? There's one behind that tree and then one to the left. Yeah.
Oh, yes, we'll keep them. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I just wanted to be, I guess, based on where the awning goes, we'll probably. It looks like the current one was aligned in consideration of those lights. By extending it, does that in any way impact the lighting? Is that going to be taken into consideration given the width of the awning?
Yeah, the lighting brackets the restaurant. The awning does not. It brackets the building. So I thought we'd leave the lights so they bracket the restaurant.
Okay.
Even though the awning extends over on one side to cover that arch on the right, but yeah, I thought I read the lights as bracketing the restaurant. You know.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of clarify that the lighting would remain, and I think that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I'm a little unclear. The lighting as it's currently is on the first floor, and this is proposed to put on the second floor, so it's changing, correct?
Well, we're adding lights, you know.
Oh, okay. So now there'll be 4. You're proposing 4 light fixtures.
That's correct. Yes. I'm sorry I didn't put the existing ones on. I neglected to do that. That's my fault. So.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Graham?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, I have a question. I read what our Town Historic Center, what the aesthetic is within the center. And I'm just wondering, this building, which you testified that you don't know what it was historically, probably some type of commercial building. I'm just wondering what the aesthetic that you're trying to create here, which is something I think is different from what is in the district already. So maybe you could be a little bit, clarify that for me, please.
Yeah, I'm you know, what I was just trying to create was that, you know, Palazzo is a restaurant that's been around for, you know, at least 25 years. I mean, when the owner bought this building, it was there. It's been there forever. Anybody who has any mental memory of this place, that's all they've known. So I didn't go back beyond that. Once I heard that this place was an established place for so long, that's what I went with. So the idea was to keep the first floor pretty much as it is. I mean, as you know, we really didn't invest anything in that. But the upstairs just looks like right now such a like even the way the bricks, that fake brick is shown, it's the brick is indicated in a way it would never actually be used in reality. I mean, there were horizontal joints on an angle, you know, so my idea was really to make a vignette, to make a little, almost like a stage set that you see upstairs. I couldn't do anything downstairs. I left it alone. But upstairs, I did like a vignette. It's a very personal gesture, and you know, I admit that. But it certainly is an older look. It's a traditional look. It could have been done. Something like this could have been done in the past. But I don't know. You know, that's why also I respected the openings. I respected what was there. I kept the roof profile the same. I just thought that big beautiful arch would really be you know, eye-catching and attractive, and you know, I was looking at it from that standpoint. If need be, I can look back a little bit and maybe do a more profound nod to the past. I'd be willing to do that. It's no problem. But this is what I came up with, you know.
Okay, so my next question is that sculptural figure that's in the center, is that going to contain, in your mind, any lighting on that? And how are you creating that ledge? Is there an existing ledge on the building, or are you actually building that out?
No, well, the existing second floor recesses in about 4 inches. It does that. So the ledge you're talking about is only, you know, going to be maybe 6 inches deep. It isn't like a ledge, like, you know, that you can walk on. You know, it's a little like, you know, projection. You know, that's really all it is. So so that wrought iron work I did, that's really right up against the window. You know, it's pretty close to the window. It isn't like there's you can't walk out on anything there. You know, it's like one of those Italian balconies that just barely stick out. You know. And the sculpture, to answer your question, I was hoping to get some very tiny pin lights in there, yes, and maybe at Christmas time they you know, address Christmas colors, and Halloween they can be orange, or you know. So I was imagining some sort of thing like that, where it'd be kind of like a novelty piece in town that you look up and see, and everybody knows, you know. That's all.
Okay, and then I guess are you, if your concept is approved tonight, are you prepared to come back with more details in your drawings? Because I agree that the awnings are very you know, there's no indication of really how they're made, how far they project out. The on top, and it looks, just looking at this, it looks as though the two awnings are different. So I don't think there's enough information in just this. It's more of a conceptual sketch, as I see it. Okay.
I would be more than happy. I look forward to it. Yes, and in fact, I'll provide 3-dimensional information as well, so you see it in 3D, how it looks from the street. Yes. Yes. I look forward to that. Absolutely. Sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those are my questions. So at this point, can we turn it over to Mr. Conley for his opinion as our historic preservation consultant?
Yes. Kathleen, I'd just like to clarify that our office did review this application last month and did submit a review memo. It was just not reviewed by the commission. So for our office.
Right, but I meant, did it change? Was anything changed in the first menu?
Yes, it's different.
Oh, it's a new. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I thought it was the same.
Yep.
Okay, but what we're looking now, which is the second review, is really focused on what we've seen tonight. Thank you.
So yeah, I really only had 2 comments. My first comment was basically the overall architectural character that's shown on the proposed facade really alters the building's identity, and it's really a special visual character within the district. This is a very unique building. And this treatment that is being proposed is really not consistent with the guidelines. And my other comment was, which comes right from the application states that the applicant shall provide a complete set of working drawings that include detailed specifications, cut sheets, manufacturer's product information, mock-ups, etc. You know, it's samples for us to review. So there's really no dimensions or anything provided on this drawing. It's a rendering. It's
Yes.
okay.
Yes, and that's why I wanted to be very specific in my question to Mr. Garlioni, that this was really a conceptual review with the entire commission present.
Mhm.
So, Mr. Conley, you don't think that this is a consistent with the guidelines, our design guidelines? Could you expand a little bit more on that without
Sure.
redesigning it?
Yeah, there are a number of, it seems like almost structural changes that are really altering the look of the building. If you just take the arch there, that's very dramatic and very, if you look at the original photograph, you know, we're changing the shape of the facade. I mean, I don't know why it was there, but it looks like it was done purposely.
Is
We
the
should probably
facade
look into
historic?
looking.
I apologize for interrupting. Is the facade itself, the current facade, historic?
It was listed as a harmonizing building, but altered. So it has been changed over time, but I believe the changes that are being made are structural and will change. I don't mean structural, and you know, holding the building up, but they look like they're going to change the look of this building dramatically. Elimination or lowering of the bulkhead changes the openings on the ground floor. There's a number of vents that were there. You see two of them there, and then one in the gable that will no longer be there. And the window types kind of don't really fit within the district.
I say I agree with you, Tom. And again, we run the risk that we cannot redesign this. Mr. Garlioni, it's if you were to come back with something that wasn't a
Let's do questions. Let's do comments.
I'd be happy to reconsider everything. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. So I just wanted to make that clear before we go on to the discussion. Okay. So who do we have? Are you, Mr. Conley, those are all your comments, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So Ms. Kane-Levy.
The first thing I'd like to see before I opine on this current design is in some historic references, historic photographs of what was there. I see that the current facade, to me, might be harmonizing, but there's nothing special about it. So I don't think it has to be preserved as it is. But I would like to see what the building was historically. And I could support alterations to the storefront to expand the length of the doors, especially, you know, post-COVID, we want as much in and out flow for restaurants. I think that's something that restaurants have been desiring, and we should be sensitive to that. I would not feel comfortable about a blue stucco facade. I think, you know, whatever the materials are, it should probably be a neutral color, neutral finishes. I don't think those awnings have any precedent anywhere in the district, so I would not be able to support awnings with a translucent covering or metal slats. I would prefer to see something more traditional. And I do agree that the windows really are not consistent with anything in the district either. But I would be open to something a little bit more whimsical. I think it's interesting to have ironwork, you know, a piece of artwork there. That would be interesting. And some of the shapes I do see references to other buildings in the district. That arch is very similar to the one, the store we were looking at with where the mural is going, there's a series of arches, an arcade right off of Bloomfield Avenue on the other side of the street. And then also this kind of pedimented shape above the first floor is very typical for one-story commercial buildings in the district. But right now, as it is, I don't think it's there yet. And before we make any decisions, I would really like to see some research done on what the facade looked like prior to the current condition. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Caroline. John?
Yes. Yeah, that's why I asked if he had done any historic research. It seems to me there's so many changes here that it's somewhat arbitrary what's being done. I know what's being done, but if you're doing this, you might as well take a look at what was there before if you're doing this much work to the facade. So I can't support it overall as I see it. But in terms of some details, I think it's okay for the doors, especially if it's a restaurant, to go down to the floor, and you lose the plinth, by, it looks like almost a foot. I think that's an improvement. I think it's important that the door going into the office area up above match into everything that's happening on the left. I mean, you're doing so much work, you might as well tie it all together somehow. I agree with Steve in terms of extending the awning left and right, so it looks like it's covering what's below. I don't support this awning at all. And in fact, our guidelines say in this district that we're supposed to be using traditional, I mean, that's what our guidelines say. So I don't support that. And that's it. I so dislike what I see above the first floor that it's not worth talking about at the moment until we look at some historic photos, if you can find them, I guess. That's it. Those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rooney, did you make comments already?
I have not. The interesting thing is it looks like we're building something Mediterranean, something highly stylistic. And that would make sense if the interior is also. But otherwise, it's just picking something out of the blue. And I agree that we should be looking at the historic photos, if we can find them, of this building and see if we can build off of that instead.
All right, thank you. Mr. Graham, do you have anything to add?
It just not to harp on the first floor lights, but I just think we should consider in the design, if extending the awning for symmetry with the overall building, perhaps the lighting itself in the evening could make it seem asymmetrical, given that it's centered around the restaurant. I do think that I do like the first floor doors. Actually, I like the extension, the expanding the windows there. And I agree, I would like to see more historical context. I don't think the building as it stands now is particularly significant, and I would like to see some historical context for what the building looked like in the past as well.
Okay.
I have one question. It has nothing to do with historic preservation. How do you handle, like, the front door of the restaurant being non-ADA? Because you should always have 18 inches to the left of the handle of the door. I know in the past we've had the door pushed back, but I don't know.
Steve,
Yeah.
you can handle that with a paddle. Someone hits a paddle and the door opens and you push.
But if it goes in, right? Okay.
Well, to open it. Well, I guess you can open it. You have room on the inside.
You have to have the room on the inside. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Assuming that the door doesn't open out.
Okay, well, anything else, Steve, to add? That's
No,
it?
that's it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, and thank you, Mr. Guardioni. I think you've heard what our commissioners have to say, that there does need to, more historic research has to be done on this building to see what it looked like in its former life. There is consensus that people like the idea of the windows, extending the windows, coming down closer to the ground, being more open. But there are questions about the overall design of it and how it fits within the historic district. So I would say that the HPC would not support the current design, but you've got our comments. So we look forward to seeing you come back with something else.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, moving forward to new business. This is a recommendation to the zoning board, application 2732, 18 Waterbury Road. Hold on just a second. Oh, here. So the subject property is located within the Marlboro Park Historic District and consists of an existing circa 1902 2.5-story eclectic styled home. It has a small one-car shallow gable roof garage located beyond the house in the southwest corner of the property. The property is listed as a contributing resource and register eligible in the district's nomination form. The applicant proposes to construct a new one-car garage with a detached carport, canopy, and storage area on the subject property. The proposed garage will be 10 feet wide with an attached canopy measuring 10 feet as well. The garage will have a depth of 24 feet with the rear portion containing a storage area accessed by a rear door. This application has been filed to the Board of Adjustment for bulk variance relief to construct a garage, as I just said, in the rear of the building. You can see it at the end of the driveway. And it is located, as I said before, in the Marlboro Park Historic District. This dwelling is a classical revival dwelling constructed around 1900 and was designed by Dudley Van Antwerp, which is probably one of our most well-known local architects. And the applicant is requesting a C variance. It's requesting a variance of the required side yard setback for accessory structure on interior lots. The applicant proposes a side yard setback of 3 feet, where a minimum of 6 feet is required. The existing metal garage on the property has a side yard setback of 3.8 feet. So do we have the owner here tonight, Graham?
Mr. Bender is here as an attendee, but unfortunately I can't add him to the meeting. It looks like he's not all the way connected. Let me see.
Oh,
Hang on. Mr. Bender, are you joining us by phone?
I'm here on the phone, yes.
Okay, I hear you there on the phone. Okay, so I'm gonna unmute you so you can participate. Okay.
Great.
Mr. Bender, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I'm the attorney for the board. I'm just going to swear you in, okay? Could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're going to give this commission is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And Mr. Bender, you're the owner of the property, is that correct?
I am.
Okay, thank you very much. You can proceed.
okay, thank you. We're in receipt of a rendering, a drawing.
Do we want to let Mr. Bender explain? I don't know, Mr. Bender, can you see the proceedings? Or are you just running us by phone?
I can. No, I can see them.
Okay, you can see them. Okay, all right,
Okay,
good.
I
I
didn't
just
think
wanted
you
to
could
make
see
sure.
them.
Yeah, so
Okay, so
I
Mr. Bender, could you describe the project for us?
Sure. The existing garage is circa 1955 Sears catalog aluminum garage structure that's been on the property since we purchased it in 2008. It's a long overdue tear down of sort of a deteriorating structure, and our intention is to replace it with similar setbacks and footprint on the side and on the sides and front, and to bump out in the back to include a utility storage area as we do that.
Does that conclude?
Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward story in terms of we've had a long deteriorating garage in place, which we're hoping to replace with a nice new garage that we can use.
Okay. Thank you. So everyone is in receipt of this rendering. I just have a question. I don't know. This was in the pack. Graham, can you see this? This piece of paper was also in the packet connected. I don't know if this has anything to do with what we're looking at. No.
I don't know. I don't know what that's a photo of. I can't tell.
It's a parking lot, and it looks like a trash enclosure. So it was attached to this application. No, okay. I just wanted to clarify, see what it was.
Having a bad driveway.
Yeah, that was my question too.
Okay, so why don't we go to questions? Ms. Kane-Levy? I think you're mute.
So front of the garage, this porte cochere that's adjacent to the garage would sort of be behind. All you would see from the street would be the doors of the garage. Is that? So you wouldn't see
So
the exit.
you would see exactly where you see the garage there.
Okay.
This new structure with a higher peak. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Oh, and what is the material of the cladding? Is it a wood clad?
Cedar.
Clapboard? It
Yeah,
is
wood
clad.
clad.
Okay, great. Those are my questions.
Mr. Reimnitz?
John, I think you have your microphone elevated up.
Sorry about that. I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Mr. Rooney?
Steve, you're muted. I unmuted you. Go ahead.
Thank you. The replacement garage is on the same footprint as the existing one?
With the exception out the back where we're putting additional length on for the storage area.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't have any problems with this garage.
And Mr. Graham?
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Conley? The only question, I don't have any questions. I think they were all answered. What type of garage door is it? Would it be that?
The plans say carriage house style.
Okay, carriage house style. Okay, thank you. Mr. Conley, would you please go over your comments?
Yes. So I did have a couple of questions actually. So what is the existing and proposed ridge heights of the garage? It was hard to read the drawings. I was just curious.
Sure. The existing garage is about 10.5 feet to the peak. The new garage currently is depicted at 15, but we're considering lowering it to 14 feet.
What is the height of the proposed garage doors then? Or the opening?
Garage doors remain the same as the existing. Maybe an inch or two difference.
So was it about 8 feet?
I think we show 8 feet 4, but it's between 8 and 8 feet 4.
Okay. The same thing is just clarification of the slope of the roofs are obviously changing, but I was curious as to what the new one is. It looks like it's close to 45.
I have the existing one at about 42, and the new one probably somewhere closer to say 55.
Okay.
No, I don't have my architect.
Yeah,
here,
no,
so I can't
that's
give you-
I have no problem with that. That's good.
Okay.
Another question I did have was, and this is kind of a code thing, and this is just from experience, a fire rating may be required on the wall that's closest to the property line. I think when you're within 5 feet, which will alter or may alter the fenestration and the rating of that wall. So what you're showing possibly could change, and I just bring that up as a possibility. So what's proposed on the left side elevation might not be what ends up being constructed.
And who would advise us on that?
That would be the building department or their code official.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm assuming you're going to be installing gutters and leaders on the building.
We are. Still a question on where they'll drain to. We've got existing French drains in the yard, which we could run it underneath, or we could run it into the driveway. We're just not sure yet.
I did skip over my comment number 4, and this goes to, I guess, a question that's Mr. Rooney had. It's always nice when we're expanding the size of a garage with a new element to reduce that element slightly, so it shows as an addition to, again, this is not a historic building, but just a change in the footprint. So that storage shed at the rear, again, this is just a suggestion if it could be somewhat smaller in the ridge height and smaller in width. It just kind of, and again, it's not visible from the street, so I don't know if it matters, but.
Yeah, and interestingly, I had that same discussion with my architect before your comments, so I think we're thinking similarly about the possible here.
Yeah, what you're proposing is way simpler, and again, it's not visible from the street, so I'm not sure it matters that much. But what does matter to us is the windows. The windows shouldn't really have a visible historic sill, and you should really avoid wrapping the casing all the way around the windows. We are within a district, so the windows should be designed and installed as windows typically were, with a true sill and a true drip cap. That again might be just in the way the windows were rendered here, but
and then again, it's something I can share with my architect for him to change.
And I did have a question as to actually what the proposed material of the new windows would be.
Wood.
Okay. And that was all my comments.
Thank you, Tom. I just, as you're applying for a variance from the zoning board, I just wanted to confirm that the footprint of this garage, to the proposed garage, will actually be closer to the side. Is it the side yard or is it the backyard?
It's the side yard that we're asking for the variance on.
Yes.
We won't get closer to that side yard, although we reflect asking for a 3-foot variance versus 3.9. Our intention is to keep it at the existing 3.9. It will get closer to the back lot, but we don't intend to get within 6 feet. So we're not asking for a variance on the back lot.
Okay, I just want to make it clear.
Yep.
Thank you. So we'll open up for discussion. Mr. Rooney?
I think it's fine as it is, and I think Tom brought up nicely about the left side elevation probably will lose that window. But other than that, it's fine.
Ms. Kane Levy
I also think it's fine.
and Mr. Reimnitz?
Yeah, I have a couple comments. Your house is very beautiful. I'm looking at
thank
it
you very much.
online. Yeah, we don't have that as a reference in the presentation, but I'm looking at it. So I appreciate you trying to, I would not lower the peak of the roof from your drawing. I know you're saying you want to do it. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Or maybe we do have it in our paperwork. I would try to treat the gable end similarly, in a similar fashion to the gables over the door and the third floor gable there, where the fascia board is a little thicker, might have a, you can do a few things that with, I think with in a relatively easy way to reference back to the house and make it tie in a little bit better. I think you don't need to use corner boards. The existing house does not use corner boards. And then there's a lot of information about how the windows are done in the house. And that's just a matter of molding or casing around the windows. So I would encourage, I think you're well on your way. I would encourage you to just, maybe take a few more clues from the existing house. I think you'll get a better result.
Okay, thank you,
Great,
John.
suggestions.
Who's speaking?
That was the owner. It's just saying thank you for the suggestions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to make a suggestion. Okay, so I think we're in agreement that we're generally supportive of this application. There are some things recommendations that I know Graham has written down in terms of gutters and leaders, where they will be, the windows should not be wrapped. So they should include a drip cap that would be more appropriate to the area at the time period of the house. And that it's great to hear that you're using cedar for the outside. Is there anything else, Graham? The
only other note that I had was John's comment to remove the corner boards as they're not consistent with the.
Yeah. Okay. Are we Graham, you're frozen.
No, I'm still here.
Okay. All right. There you go.
All
right, I think this will be a good project, and I think if you talk to your architect, you'll come up with to incorporate the suggestions that we've come up with. I think it'll look great.
Agreed. Thank you so much.
Can I just ask you a question? How do you know that Dudley Van Antwerp designed your house? Do you have documentation on that?
You know what? Until I saw this, I had no idea.
Oh.
But someone knows it and put it in these documents. I did not know that.
Oh. So, okay. I guess, well,
is it in the survey? We can discuss that, Kathleen.
Yeah, it's a historic context. All right. It's so interesting to find a Dudley Van Antwerp house. So you'll be hearing from us maybe later on. Thank you. And it's a beautiful home.
Thank you so much.
Okay. You too. Next up is another recommendation to the zoning board, application 2734 at 374 North Fullerton Avenue. Now, I'm sorry.
The architect is here, Ms. Karen Brinkman. I just brought her into the meeting.
Okay, great. So let me just introduce the application. This has been filed to the Board of Education for a bulk reference relief to construct a front porch addition to the existing dwelling on the subject property. The applicant proposes to construct a porch addition to the front of the dwelling. The proposed porch addition will extend about 9 feet from the front facade of the dwelling and span 36.6 feet in width along the front facade. And the historical context of this subject property is located in the Wildwood Avenue potential historic resource area, has identified an historic preservation element of the township master plan. The element notes that the Wildwood Avenue area was primarily built between 1910 and 1929 with homes that exhibit a range of architectural styles. However, a number of the homes are of the Dutch colonial revival style with distinctive entry porticos, brick stoops, and gambrel gable roofs. And again, the applicant is requesting 2 C variances, one for the front yard setback and another one for the side yard setback. So we have Miss Brinker here. Ms. Brinkman, are you on?
Okay, Ms. Brinkman, would you raise your right hand, please?
Done.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're going to give this commission is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You're the architect, I see, for the project. Thank
Correct.
you. Okay. Fine, thanks.
Graham, could you put the other picture up? Here. Okay, Ms. Brinkman, can you start your testimony?
Sure, absolutely. So I am here on behalf of the homeowners. Their desire is to construct a front porch across the front of the house. We looked at a number of iterations on how to do this. Their goal is to provide better protection over the front door, to have some exterior seating area, and they would also like the front porch to connect to the existing sunroom at the south side of the house, so that room can be better utilized, so that you can have an entrance into the main door and also an entrance into the sunroom. Obviously, this front facade has a number of interesting features. However, it's my opinion that they sort of compete with each other, and we are hoping that this new front porch will actually kind of unify the facade and also provide, functionality for this family. In terms of the detailing of the porch, obviously, we're going for a variance. So some of the details that have been noted in Mr. Connolly's report, we will deal with if the variance is approved. But, at this point, we didn't want to get into a lot of details if the bulk variance isn't approved. That being said, detailing a front porch on a historic facade takes a lot of work. I've done a lot of front porches in and around town. So I realize that doing that in a way so that it is compatible with the historic structure is important, especially, given that this is the front facade. This is noted on the drawings, but if the variance is approved, the south side of the porch will have to have fire rated construction. And so, that's a detail that we will also have to work out.
Graham, could you put up A2 so that we could see what the proposed east porch elevation? There you go. So maybe you could just juxtapose it, because can you do that? Can you go back with the original that's on the left?
I don't know if I can show all the detailing at once, but
Just for us, yeah. I think that's enough for us to see what the original is on the left and what the proposal is on the right. Okay, thank you, Ms. Brinker. Do you have anything else to say?
No, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, that's our next step. Let's see, Mr. Reimnitz, do you have any questions?
I guess the only question I would have, I guess you would have to remove the existing eyebrow over the front door
Correct.
in doing this, correct? Okay.
Yes.
And I'm assuming we're looking at brick piers. Oh, I see. Yeah, it does say brick on one side. I'm sorry. It is labeled. Okay. I guess my only other question is would there be a gutter on the edge of this roof, especially as you come up the stairs, or?
Yes.
Okay, so there'd be a gutter and some leaders as part of this, which
Exactly.
I don't have a problem with, but, okay, I don't have any other questions.
Ms. Kane-Levy?
I don't have questions.
Mr. Rooney?
I don't have any questions.
And Mr. Graham?
I don't have any questions either.
And I don't have any questions either. So why don't we just go right to Mr. Conley's report?
Okay, I have, I guess, 4 things to review here. So my first one is really a comment. The incorporation of a new full-width porch into this classic example of a side gable colonial revival house is incompatible with one of the style's principal subtypes. So if you look up and down the street in this district, there's houses that are all very similar, and I don't believe one of them has a front porch. That's just a comment. A full width front porch like the one that's being proposed. My second comment is the drawings on the drawings. There's a note that indicates that the final column and pier placement and the number of bays will be determined upon the location of underground piping. The proposed porch, piers, and column locations need to be determined prior to the approval by the HPC. I think we should have a drawing that accurately reflects what the porch is going to look like before we, I guess, give a final approval. My third comment was where the porch meets the building, a pilaster or an engaged column should be used, and that's just a typical detail or a traditional detail that's usually found when there are porches on fronts of houses. And my fourth comment was the railing along the south side of the proposed porch seems to be in conflict with the existing window. If you look at the plan, and I'm not sure if it's shown on elevation, but it looks like the railing ties right into the window.
Yeah, can I address those?
Sure.
So with regards to the railing at the south side, the railing would, at that juncture, we can't use a pilaster column, but the railing would die into a porch post so that there would not be a conflict with the window.
But it would be above the window though?
No, we would have a porch. We would have a porch post in front of the window so that there would be, a space between the.
Yeah, I understand, but the window sill, right? So from the inside, you would see I guess, I don't know if it really matters.
Right. And honestly, like I said, I went over a number of iterations with the homeowners, and trying to make this porch functional for them and how we can deal with the aesthetics. And, it was really important to them that they have access to that side sunroom from the porch. And this was the best way that we figured out to kind of blend the aesthetics with functionality for them. So that's kind of where we came up with. I can't move that porch over to the edge of that first floor sunroom because the second floor is set back, so it would be an issue with the roof lines. So this roof line for the porch, it dies into the second floor, which is set back from the first floor. So we're dealing with a number of issues there. And oh, in terms of the column pier placement, you know, obviously whenever you do work in New Jersey, you have to like do a probe before you dig for a foundation. So this is just sort of a general note. But any porch that we did, the spacing of the porch columns is going to be equal. We're not going to have something that's 5 feet and then, you know, 3 at 4'4". Everything's going to be spaced equally so that it has, you know, a pleasing aesthetic to it. I hope that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
I didn't have any other comments, so that was it for me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Rooney?
No other comments.
Well, do you support, how about do you support what's being,
I think so that was Mr. Connolly's comments. Now, I guess we're moving into final comments from the commission members.
right, so you don't, Mr. Rooney, you have no final comment?
I don't have any final comments. I support it.
Okay, Ms. Kane-Levy?
I think I can support the porch. You know, while the house wasn't built with a porch, I think there is enough variety among houses of this age and style around Montclair. Some have porches, some don't. You know, it's a little sad that that nice door hood will be going away, but I think that the design of the porch, the railings, the columns seem to be harmonious with the details of the house, so I can support it.
And just to be clear, where they have to, they're applying for a variance. So this porch will come out, you know, onto the front, towards the front, which, as Tom pointed out, doesn't exist anywhere else on that street. So
Well,
I just want to be.
I don't really think that we can assess it without looking at a block plan and seeing how the houses relate to each other. Then I don't know how far the other houses are from the street, from the sidewalk, and I don't know how far this one is. So if there's
I think, yeah, I think it's important to, you know, understand who's responsible for. So the zoning board of adjustment has jurisdiction over the variance. The required front yard setback for this property is the average of the 4 adjacent. So the required dimension of the front yard is actually based upon the setback of the adjacent properties. That's indicated on the first page of the plan set. John, do you have a question on that?
No, I just have a comment on that. I understand the separation of powers here, but we could still, as the historic commission, comment on the
Can certainly
general
make comments
historic
regarding this,
neighbor,
right.
historic
I just
character
wanted
of the
to note
neighborhood.
that the degree of the variance is based upon the average calculation of the
Oh, got
existing
it.
setbacks.
That's the law.
Based
Yeah,
in 12.
got it.
Yeah.
So John, do you, Ms. Kane-Levy, are those your final comments?
Yeah.
And John?
Yeah, I have a few comments. First of all, I want to commend the architect. I think I can tell when I see this that you're obviously skilled, and appreciate that. Couple things. Is there a reason why the stairs are not centered on the door, the first floor door?
Yeah, because honestly, in order to try and get the column spacing right, that it just wasn't going to work out that way. I couldn't center it on the door and have the column spacing kind of work out across.
Yeah,
the
I guess I would
entire
suggest.
facade.
I guess I would suggest that you should get the columns be centered on the door and make the other 3 separations equal. I think that would be a more balanced sort of entry in there. I don't think they necessarily need to be spaced from left to right for I think visually it would look better to frame the door, but that's one comment. You said, is the sunroom windows, and are you going to reconfigure that whole thing at the sunroom end there?
So what will happen is those 3 windows will become 1 window and a door. And that's just not shown because it's behind the
Can I
porch
see
configuration.
can I see the plan again, Graham? Because I read 2 windows and a door.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. 2 windows and a door.
And this is a long way around asking questions to say, we could do what Tom is suggesting based on reconfiguration of those windows and door. You could create enough wall space there for an engaged pilaster there and one on the other side. So
Oh, all right. Point
it
taken.
might be it might be a matter of, you know, you're probably getting down to inches on the right hand side. I don't know. There you go. I think it would be nicer if indeed you could get the engaged pilaster on both sides. Oh, and the only last thing is we have no idea what this looks like from the side. There's no side elevation to this porch, is there?
Not at this time, no.
Yeah. So does the soffit return level around at either? Do you get like a, what are you imagining the side of this looks like? Does that soffit that I'm reading there return horizontally,
Actually,
or
right,
does
so
it go up?
what I was hoping is that the soffit would actually match the soffit that is existing on this north side of the house. If you look at the photograph,
Can I see that?
if you scroll up,
Photograph.
which should be on A1, and you can see at the side that there is where there's a shed roof going over where the stair bump out is. So we were hoping to match that.
I see. Okay. I don't have any more comments or questions.
Thank you. Mr. Graham?
Yeah, I'm supportive of the porch. It is a shame to lose that beautiful overhang on the front door. And I know a comment was that perhaps on this street there were no porches, but I think it's still in character with the township overall. And I am supportive of it.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to make a comment that with the, John brought up the column spacing, and if the column, it's an awkward position, the way that you have it now, because that column that's the one directly in the middle is off center with the windows, that bay window that you have there. So the bay window is going to remain, correct?
Yes.
So I think the column spacing needs to be worked on. I generally am supportive of the application and realize the need for the porch will increase the living space. However, I do think it's a shame to that eyebrow will disappear. And I did take a drive up the street today, and there are no other, nothing else is closer to the street. So of any of these houses. So while I realize you're going for a variance, I do think it will change the streetscape, and really it's incompatible with this type of house and the streetscape. So with that being said, we have recommendations when this goes before the zoning board, Graham, which I know that you've been writing down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest one is the spacing of the columns. It sounds like that's the major one. And then reconfiguration of the sunroom window and door to have an engaged column on each side of the porch as it returns to connect with the house. Those are kind of the 2 big ones. And then I didn't know if you wanted to include Mr. Connolly's overarching statement from his memo under item 1, just as a reference point for the application. That was kind of a consistent comment that it sounded like you and John were making regarding the style of the porch on the house.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the variance that they're going for. So yes, I think that would be something.
Be those 3 items. So, and then of course, sorry, the fourth one would be for the applicant to return with a final plan set for review by the HPC.
Yes. Okay. Ms. Brinkman, did you hear all that?
Yes.
Okay, great. And when does this go before the zoning board, Graham?
I'm not exactly sure. I had
Okay.
penciled in a few dates, but unfortunately the zoning board did not really do any significant business last night. So I have a major shift in upcoming agendas. So
Oh,
I'll be sure to let folks know. So
okay, great. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brinkman. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it is 9:05. Well, moving along. The next is an HPC application for number 2021-19, 202 Bellevue Avenue, Eagle Rock Coffee. This is a post-installation compliance for installation of a new paver parking area in the Upper Montclair Historic District. Hold on. So this is work that was completed without applying for a C of A. That's what they're asking for tonight. It's work that's already been completed. The subject property is located in Upper Montclair Historic District and consists of a late 19th century eclectic house with a single-story wooden framed retail structure fronting Bellevue Avenue. The applicant is seeking approval for as-built conditions not previously reviewed by the HPC, replacement of existing asphaltic concrete with bluestone paving adjacent to the one-story structure along Norwood Avenue. So basically, they've converted a parking lot into a seating area now. Who is here to speak for the applicant, Graham?
we have Sibel Oz representing the applicant. Ms. Oz, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, good evening.
Hi.
What was, Miss Oz, was it?
Yes, Sibel Oz.
Yes.
Oh, hi, this is Ira Karasik, Township Attorney and the Board Attorney. Could you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear the testimony you're going to give this commission is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much. You can
Sure.
proceed.
So Ms. Oz, could you just explain what's the work that you did?
Actually, we only converted black top to bluestone, and by doing that, we did not lose any parking space. There is no leveling with the current, black top area and the bluestone area. Again, with having the COVID outdoor space attractive last year, we used that space, the tenant used that space, black top space for, some, a few umbrellas and chairs. So this year we thought it would look nicer with having bluestone done. And we all changing the landscape around it. It's more, I don't know if you had a chance to drive by. It looks much nicer. The neighbors are happy. And when I initially spoke to Oboile, we were not aware of asking any permit or application to society. So after the fact, we were informed that the application had to be in. So basically, we turned the blacktop area to bluestone.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude your testimony?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So basically, just for the members, that this is work that has been completed. Graham, do you have another picture up of the finish? I think there is another one.
No, that was the only photo here. They did
Oh.
submit other photos though from their photo document. Just give me 1 second.
Well, what you're
Yeah.
looking for that,
Yeah,
why
here,
don't,
this is
yeah, that's
this
the
is
one
their
I was
photo.
looking for. Okay, great. So why don't we go through the commissioners? Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Rooney?
No, I have no questions.
Mr. Graham?
Just for clarification, we're not required to address the parking issue, correct? That would be for another board, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, no, I have no questions then.
Ms. Kane Levy?
No questions.
Mr. Reimnitz?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question. Are you going to do any more landscaping in the borders that you've created? Is there going to
Yes,
be any height?
actually, no, not higher than this, but it is, we have a little bit more planned. It looks much, nicer than this photo right now.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. Mr. Conley, would you please?
Yeah, I just had just two comments. The bluestone is absolutely appropriate material to be used in the district here. And the only other question I did have was that is if the bluestone was installed with the proper subgrade and it was rated for vehicle loading, if this was going to be a parking spaces in the future, because we didn't want the bluestone to crack and look horrible.
I already asked that question to landscaper. They did enough. They had enough support. So actually, we parked a few days when they installed, and I was informed that there's not going to be any problem.
Yeah, that was my only concern.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So as this has already been installed and it looks the way it does here, we're just going to discuss whether they're asking for compliance now. So Ms. Kane Levy, are you in support? And it's a certificate of appropriateness. So we do need to have agreement on this, on the compliance issue. Are you supportive?
Yeah, I think it's a great improvement over asphalt. So.
Okay, Mr. Rooney?
I agree. It is a great improvement.
Mr. Graham?
Agreed, I support it.
And Mr. Reimnitz?
I support it, but I have a question for Graham Petto. If the owners expressing that they had no idea that they had to go, apply for historic preservation or approval. How are owners?
So
know
I just
what
want
they
to
need to
clarify.
do?
I just want to clarify. So there's the owners of this property know that they are located within a historic district because they applied previously to this commission for insulation awnings and signage. I think that the issue becomes that there is some lack of understanding that paving surfaces and other landscape treatments such as fences and retaining walls and other landscape elements are also subject to review. So it's just ensuring that property owners know that other features are also subject to review, not just the building.
So how do owners in the historic districts know what the rules of the road are? Are they notified in some way? Should they just know that this is something they have to do? Or
I think that's part of the education and outreach component that we had been working on just before COVID set in. Kathleen and I were going through and meeting with each of the business organizations. We met with UMBA and we met with, we were working on setting up a meeting with the Montclair Center bid to do that outreach and, engage and, advise property owners through their local business organizations of what the responsibilities are of historic property owners in stewarding these properties.
I would imagine the local bid does some sort of distribution of a newsletter or different things that we can make sure that information ends up in such where it gets distributed to all the people in the district.
Yeah, I know. I had previously worked with the Montclair Center bid to include a copy of our application form in their welcome material packets to all new business owners.
To help
So,
as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. I think that would be,
Yes, so it sounds as though we're supportive, generally supportive of this, totally. So I would say that the C of A is, would be
we need
granted.
a motion and then a second.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Who would, somebody make a motion to accept the project
Motion.
as, okay, Mr. Graham, second?
Graham for motion.
second.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We would love to have for you, yeah, for a cafe.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
a great space. Anytime, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, next up is another certificate of appropriateness. HPC application 2021-20, 211 Bellevue Avenue, Bellevue Realtor LLC. This application has been submitted to the Historic Preservation Commission for a certificate of appropriateness for emergency repairs, facade modifications at the subject property. And Graham, could you please explain what emergency repairs, what that entails?
I believe so. Well, I'm sure Mr. Robertson will know more about what the emergency entails, but just for the advice of the commission,
Yeah.
an applicant is allowed to concurrently begin work to make repairs at the time of filing an application for a certificate of appropriateness if an emergent condition exists. But I believe in this case, the applicant did not proceed with any repairs. They just did some weatherproofing to protect the building in the interim process. So we tried to get them here as quickly as we could before this meeting this evening. So and Mr. Robertson is here for the applicant. He can share more about the existing conditions at the site.
Well, I just wanted people to understand what emergency repairs were, because that.
So the key provision in the ordinance is that should an emergency situation occur, an applicant is allowed to begin work and pull permits and start making those repairs, but must file an application concurrently and be scheduled at the next available meeting.
Yes, thank you, because I think we don't see these too often. So thank you, Graham. So the subject property, which I mentioned.
Everybody is in favor?
Thank
What?
you. That was Ms. Oz. I remuted her. Okay, we're good to proceed.
Okay. So as I said before, this we're going to be looking at 211 Bellevue Avenue. The rear of this building, which is faces the parking lot. It's located within the Upper Montclair Historic District, and it consists of an existing 1931 two-story, two-bay, two-part commercial block building. The property is listed as an intrusion in the district's nomination form. The applicant proposes to replace the deteriorated plywood siding at the rear of the building with new thin brick cladding, install a fiberglass string course and cornice, remove and replace the existing copper and glass shed roof at the rear of the building with a new metal standing seam roof with skylights, replace existing glass doors, and replace the deteriorated wood trim and fascia. They are also going to install new gutters and leaders. And as I said before, this is not visible from Bellevue Avenue. This is in the rear of the building. And whom do we have here to speak about?
We have Ryan Robertson representing the applicant this evening.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
You'll be sworn in.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear the testimony going to this commission is truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay, just state your name and your relation to the applicant. Probably you are.
Sure. My name is Ryan Robertson. I work for Sionis Architecture, and we are the architect for the applicant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Can you just tell us what you plan to do to this facade?
Sure. Can I go over a little bit of the history of what we know of the history of this building first?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so maybe Graham, if you want to pull up the tarp, well, it doesn't matter. We can look at this photo. This one's fine. So what we know of the building is Sanford and Purvis Insurance, which is located across the street on Bellevue Avenue, owned this building for many years prior to them moving and changing their name to Sanford Insurance Group. And our office contacted Jeff Sanford, who's the current owner of the company, which was founded by his grandfather. And according to Jeff, 211 Bellevue was constructed as a one-story bank in 1931. So sometime between 1931 and 1975, it was Montclair Savings Bank. The insurance company Allen and Purvis owned this building and constructed the wood-framed second floor addition with this texture 111 exterior siding. That happened around 1974 or 1975. And in or around 1975, Montclair Savings Bank constructed a new building at 460 Valley Road in Upper Montclair, which is where Bond's Ice Cream Parlor was. That building is currently occupied by Bank of America. And when that building was completed, Montclair Savings Bank moved out of 211, and the newly merged insurance company Sanford and Purvis occupied the entire building until selling it to the current owner, who's the applicant here. And that happened in 2010. So we tried pretty hard to try to find a historic photo of the building back when it was a one-story, but unfortunately we weren't able to find anything. But everything on the second story was an addition sometime in the 70s. So the reason we're here and why it was kind of an emergency application is there's been a lot of water infiltration over the past several months. You can see the texture 111 in this photo here. It's delaminating in several spots. It's really poor condition on all sides of this building, but especially back here. And this existing glass is kind of in bad shape too. Graham, would you mind pulling up the application drawing that has everything? Because I'll reference some of the blow-up photos. Yeah. Let's see. So, yeah, our proposal is to remove the texture 111 because of the delamination. So details 8 and 9 kind of show blow-ups of the delamination. We propose to replace the siding up there with a light-colored thin brick to contrast with the existing red brick on the first floor, and that you can refer to the detail 4, Graham, which is our reference photo of proposed materials. In addition to that lighter colored brick, we would propose a new cornice at the parapet, which is currently just an aluminum coping, and we'd provide a smaller intermediate cornice trim at the separation between the full brick and the proposed thin brick above to differentiate between the materials. And we would demolish whatever that sort of, it's kind of an octagonal bump out that the tarp is attached to right now. We would remove that. We don't know what that's for. I met with a contractor. We tried to figure out, it only comes out for 5 inches. His guess was that it was because this T111 siding only comes in like 4x8 panels. And he thought that might have been a way they tried to avoid having seams, but that isn't what is happening to the right. So I'm not sure if that's the reason, but we propose to get rid of that and have just a flush surface of brick above that where there's currently a glass roof. And then we want to remove the leaking glass roof because the same contractor, we asked him about if we could reglaze it, and he said it looked to him like a can of worms and wasn't worth trying to reglaze. So we entertained thinking about doing a new glass roof, but the owner doesn't really have much use for that. You can see in the proposed elevation, there's a dashed line there showing a partition wall behind. So to the left of that dashed line is an office area for the business use. And just directly behind those glass doors is just kind of a jogged hallway with a stairs down to the basement. It's not really occupied. So to make this an all glass roof doesn't really benefit, or doesn't really correspond with what those spaces are used for. So we again looked at this reference photo and thought a standing seam, a dark colored standing seam roof would play well with the existing brick and the proposed lighter colored brick. But then we also, the owner was open to doing skylights to kind of nod back to what was historically there and also bring some daylight into that office. So that this would match the existing pitch. We'd have the 3 skylights as shown. Skylight to the right is centered on the doors, and I couldn't do equal distant because of where that partition lands. So the idea is to center those on a rib of the standing seam. And let's see, the last bit here we would do is remove the water damaged trim board, which you can see in details 6, 7, and 8, and provide a new fascia board with a gutter there, because right now rainwater, snow, it's just pouring right off of the glass roof onto handicap spaces, which is sort of unsafe. So we thought we'd put a new fascia board and a gutter, which is shown on the left of the doors because we have a no parking sign to the right of the doors. And existing, I don't know if either of these photos show it, but the existing header above those double doors is sagging a bit. There's a noticeable amount of deflection. So we will replace, it's probably an angle, steel angle, so it might need to be a channel or something that will just go behind the fascia board. And we would replace the doors to match existing. So that's what we're proposing. Do you want to pull up the Connolly and Hickey consultant report, please, Graham? This report we received and we reviewed, it mentions, like the chair said, that it's listed as an intrusion in the district's nomination form. And the 3 items there that Graham zoomed in on, I'll just go over quickly. States that a less decorative string course and cornice should be considered in order to less radically alter the historic form of the building. And so we're certainly open to that. We think that the T111 portion of this building, the addition above, which is added in the 70s, doesn't contribute much value to the building or the streetscape anyway. And the applicant's next plan of action is to have us look at, if we do get approved for a cornice, what would that look like on the side elevation and the front elevation, and if could we continue the brick around the sides as well in a future application to the HPC. We haven't done that yet, so the proportions may need to be looked at and see how that works best with the other elevations. If you could look at the rear elevation, please, Graham, one last time. The proposed, you can see there's an existing gutter up above. So really what you're seeing is the side of the cornice, the side profile of a cornice, and a little bit of a return. So yeah, to accommodate those 2 gutters. So really, I think if we got approved for this, we wouldn't install the cornice until we get approval from you on how it looks aesthetically throughout the rest of the facades. Maybe we would need to get approval on the one separating the existing brick to the right side. But we're open to changing the style of that too, if it's if Mr. Connolly feels it's inappropriate. His second point there was to indicate the location of the replacement header, and I kind of alluded to that. It's behind that fascia board. If it's a channel, we probably got 8 inches of room there, so I don't know what size it would be, maybe a 6-inch channel, but I'm pretty confident we have room to get an adequately sized header behind that fascia board, and it wouldn't change the height of the existing fascia board, which is about the height of the gutter. And the third point was to provide cut sheets, samples of proposed doors, window profiles, and colors for review. So we have submitted information on the doors to Graham, which we can dig up and resubmit more formally if we need to. We can share a cut sheet of the skylights we've selected, and we can obtain profiles of the window and gather other material samples like the brick, the thin brick, and the stainless steel metal. But our intent is to, again, kind of approximate that color scheme shown in detail 4. And so in conclusion, I think it's necessary to do something about the water infiltration issue here. And we feel that part of that solution should be to take care of this texture 111, because it seems like because of the delamination, that might be part of the problem too. And it'd be a nice opportunity to improve the look of this building on all sides, but not just apply a Band-Aid to the back here. So we think the the lighter colored brick would be a welcome addition, and we feel that standing seam would be complementary. Hopefully you agree with that, it's appropriate. And so that's it. We're eager to hear your comments and welcome any questions.
Hang on, Kathleen, you're on
Thank
mute.
you, Marina. Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Thank you for the historic context too. That was very interesting.
Thank you. I almost fainted. I thought Graham said I was muted.
We heard everything.
Okay, good.
So we will begin with questions. Mr. Rooney.
I don't really have any questions on what you're going to do, and you actually did explain to us that if you're going to do the cornices, that'll come back in a separate application.
Right.
Okay. On the right side, that also is T111, where you have the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I don't have any more questions.
Thank you. Ms. Levy.
Graham, can you put up a photograph of the front of the building? This is the back, right? So what does the front look like?
Or do you have a picture of the side?
Yeah.
We didn't submit one in the application, but I don't know if Graham, if you could pull up Google Street View that goes down the alley there.
Yeah, hang on 1 second. Pull it up.
While we're waiting, what is the material on the side of the building?
The side is all this same red brick. It's in good shape. It looks pretty good. There's one display window. And then it meets the front where there's some limestone at the corner. And then the front has, I think it's all limestone at the front with T111 above, again, on both facades that we don't see here.
There's almost like limestone coins at the corner and limestone surrounding the storefront, but then it's brick as well.
Oh, right.
It's a very distorted picture here, but yeah.
This second story on the side, it's not having the same sort of damage and water infiltration as the back?
It doesn't appear, well, it's definitely not where water is coming into the building. It might be infiltrating, behind the T111. I don't know if it doesn't look so bad in this photo. I think it looks worse in person now. I don't know in this photo there. It looks like it was 2019. Was this Google image?
Yes, August 2019.
So I think it's a little worse than it looks here, but the delamination definitely is in the rear from what I recall.
That's my only question.
We really don't know what, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Tom.
We really don't know how far up the brick goes or how far down the siding goes. So based on, this photograph right here, you see the terracotta copings on the slanted portion of the building. It looks like it kind of starts to head off on a horizontal. And maybe it's been modified, or have you kind of probed to see what it looks like behind the wood siding?
We have not. No, we haven't done any.
That's going to alter. I mean, that could possibly alter your whole scheme here, or just the location of that string course.
Right. I think it gives us options. Like if the brick ends where it looks like it could end, that's where the string course would be. But if it's higher, then we have more options to see how the proportions work out. And how it looks best.
Yeah. Not sure. Right. If I was reevaluating this building again, I'm not sure I would call it an intrusion. I mean, obviously the second floor is an intrusion, but you take the second floor off, you're back to the nice one-story building again.
Thank you. Caroline, do you have any other questions?
No.
No. John?
No questions.
Mr. Graham?
No questions.
And the question that I had was really what the side of the building looks like. Thanks, Graham, for showing us. And just wondering how the treatment in the back will fit with the side. So the question is, that thin brick that you're proposing is only on the back, or is this something that you're thinking eventually you'll put on the side? I'm just wondering how it's going to meet on the corners.
Mr. Robertson might be having some audio connection questions. Let me see if he can hear us.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Am I the only one that got lost there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, I had
So,
asked a question. No, did you hear my question?
I did not.
Okay, my question was, you're proposing for the back facade to use a thin brick in a light color. How is that going to meet on the corner with what's going on the corner? On the side, rather.
On the side alley view that we just looked at?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't studied the other elevations fully yet, so I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
But we wanted a band to differentiate the different materials rather than matching the red brick. We wanted something lighter, so there would be a horizontal band of some kind. And yes, we would have to figure out how to terminate that. What would happen here?
Okay, so this is an emergency repair that's turned into a big project.
Yeah, and we didn't go forward with the emergency repair because we weren't sure if we'd be allowed to remove the glass. And if we weren't allowed to remove the glass, you know, it may be, I don't know, it just seemed like we may be doing too much demo, more than would be allowed.
But the glass wasn't original to the building, was it?
No.
I have no idea.
No.
Yeah, that's a
Well, I guess
copper,
not.
that's a copper and glass roof on the back there. It looks pretty old to me.
Pretty old, yeah.
Oh, I see. But that can't be repaired.
31. Our contractor said it is in pretty bad shape.
It looks like it's been modified and things added to it.
Yeah.
Do we know what the spacing of the ribs are, the copper ribs, and if we could maybe mimic that with the new metal standing seam?
I can measure that for you. I have the CAD. The
Just so we can,
spacings,
you keep the
center.
spacings.
Yeah, center is 2 feet, and that you could get standing seam that's spaced that. I've drawn mine at 1'4", but I bet we could do that. Yes.
Okay, that's an idea. Mr. Graham, did you ask any questions? Do you have any questions?
I didn't have any questions. Sure, thanks.
And John,
No, I said I didn't have any questions. I'm good.
okay, sorry. I think Mr. Robertson has already gone over Tom's report. So is there anything else that you need to add, Tom, to this?
No,
To your report?
No, the main thing that I kept looking at was the proposed cornices just seemed very heavy for this building. You know, it's listed as an intrusion, just the style of the original one-story building. I mean, we're kind of radically changing what this is going to look like in the district. So you kind of want to see all the other elevations, but I kept looking at this rear elevation and the terracotta coping that was there, that it almost didn't have a cornice. So we're proposing something that's going to be different from what's currently there. It was a very understated building, kind of really nobody paid attention to it. I think with the proposed design, it's going to draw a lot of attention, and it's going to again alter the look of the district.
So the cornice design, the design and the size of it could actually come back to the revisions committee, correct, Graham, before?
Well, I think this is kind of a question for Mr. Robertson. It sounds like the applicant is really considering this in a two-phase approach. Given that, they have this emergent situation with the rear glass roof of the building that needs repairs, I think that they're primarily focusing on the rear facade to mitigate that situation at this time. It sounds like they'll be, contemplating and planning for a future facade modification with the cornice work. So I guess the question to Mr. Robertson is, do you want to proceed and have the commission render an approval just for this rear facade modification work with some conditions that the applicant return with a new application for the remainder of the building? And if that's the case, I don't think that the commission should really contemplate the proposed cornice at this time, and that should be part of a larger project that evaluates the building in its entirety.
Right. I was thinking along the lines of that, as long as maybe we could consider that what we are proposing is some sort of fiberglass cornice for the future, because does that impact your decision on the rest of the material choices and the rest of the look?
I think that's good. And I think that in that case, then what the commission could do is do a condition that, any proposed cornice stuff is part of the review by the revisions committee subsequent to the approval. And stuff should be a more concrete language, but you get what I'm trying to say.
And how does everyone feel about the standing seam metal roof
Are we
taking
going
the
to
place?
comments now? Or...
Yes, I'm sorry. Why don't we start with John? You're right there. Go ahead.
Okay. I have no problems with any of this, and I think it's a big improvement to what's there. And obviously things are falling apart. So I think I have no issues with any of this at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Graham?
Yeah, I agree with that assessment completely.
And Ms. Kay Levy?
Yeah, I agree.
And Mr. Rooney?
I agree.
Okay, so everybody is fine with replacing the glass with the standing seam roof, and the rest of the treatment in the back and the idea of the cornice should really come back to us when you decide what to do. Come back to revisions.
So I have the total of kind of three recommended conditions. One is that the spacing of the proposed standing seam roof should match the spacing of the existing glass roof on the rear facade. The second condition should be that the proposed cornice to be contemplated should be discussed with and reviewed by the HPC, and that can be through the revisions committee. And then the third one is comment number 2, I think, for Mr. Connolly's report, which just encapsulates, review of all. Comment 3, applicant shall provide cut sheet samples of the doors, window profiles, and colors for review by the HPC.
Okay, which would be the revisions committee.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so may I have a motion to approve this application as stated with the conditions that Graham just stated?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Robertson. Look forward to, looks like you have to start sooner than later on this.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Okay, our next application is also a certificate of appropriateness. And this is application 2021-23 at 121 Watchung Avenue. Meet me at Madison's. This is storefront facade alterations and signage installation in the Watchung Plaza Historic District. The applicant proposes to install new storefront and signage and lighting. This is in the Watchung Historic District, and it is an existing circa 1924 single-story, one-part commercial block structure. The facade is faced with brick with a modern plate glass storefront. Property is listed as a harmonizing altered resource in the district's nomination form. I think that's all I have in terms of background. Okay, and we've got a huge set of plans. And a lot of pictures here with the storefront specifications. And who's here to speak to this project?
The architect, Mr. Salerno, and I think the applicant as well, Mr. Sanchez. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Would you? Hi, would you both raise your right hands, please, wherever you are? And do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're going to give this commission is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And just each of you state your name so we have it on the record.
My name is Gennaro Salerno. I'm the architect for the applicant.
Thank you. There was someone else too? Was the applicant on there? Just the architect? Okay.
It looks like, yeah, Mr. Sanchez is here, but I can't hear. And Mr. Salerno, if you could just speak up a little bit louder, that would help us. Okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Salerno, can you, there you go. Could you describe, this is what you're proposing to do. Graham, could you show us what's existing there?
Page 7 of the PDF, please.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, and as I stated, this is a circa 1924 brick building in the Watchung Historic District. So, Mr. Salerno, Graham, could you go back now to the proposal and
jump pages if we do it this way. Hang on.
Page.
There you go.
And then it's page 2.
Okay. So why don't you tell us what you're proposing to do?
Okay. The existing building, when you look at the facade, you see brick and an insert of the storefront. So the storefront is an aluminum, just like it was described before. What we are doing is something in that fashion. We have an insert just like before. We have a tripartite scheme where we have a door in the center, and then we have windows at both sides. In this case, we provided pilasters against what was on the previous one. And we are following subtle classical details. The pilasters are divided into the base, shaft, and capital, and just suggested by the joints. The granite, and all this is the pilasters are granite. The part above the pilaster traditionally would be an entablature, is also granite. We have fabric canopies above the windows. The windows are it's an aluminum and glass storefront. It's insulated glass that's not there right now. And then this background, this rigid background, that I see it as a sheet music, a pentagram. Then we have the free flow play of the logo of the store, and we have in the center the sign that is about 5x2, and then the other components of the logo is the girl and the little dog, and the leash flying around, and that's basically what the design is.
Okay, and are you proposing changes to the rear as well?
No changes in the rear. There are changes inside, but
okay. Is there anything else? Any other testimony you'd like to give?
We are going to be. There was a comment from the Mr. Connolly regarding HVAC. there is an existing HVAC, and if we look at the existing pictures, you don't really see it from the street. The new one is going to be even further back, so there is no way that you're going to see it. The old restaurant has the vent from the stove towards the front. You can see it on the street. We are removing that. We are placing the kitchen in the back, so you're not going to see that from the street either.
And that's on the roof, correct?
It's on the roof, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Does that conclude your testimony? We'll open it up for questions.
Yes, thank you.
Yes?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, Mr. Reimnitz, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do. The lighting, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lights mounted to the brick facade. There's no horizontal, you're coming straight out of the brick facade. You don't have any horizontal conduit tying those together. Is that correct?
Not in front, in the back.
In the back, okay. Are the 2 leaders on either side, the rain leaders, both new?
Well, we are going to place new. They are existing. They are in bad shape, so we're placing new ones.
Going to replace that. What, can you tell me again what the pilasters are made out of?
Granite.
Can you go, okay. I'm not done yet, but let's see. Granite. So it's a flat black granite, polished granite. Is that what I'm looking at?
It's polished granite. If you see the details, there is some play. There is about 3-inch play.
Mm-hmm. And the doors are what? The door frame?
The doors are aluminum, powder coated black.
Oh, really? Okay. I think you answered all my questions. Thank you.
Ms. Kane Levy?
You're muted, Ms. Kane Levy.
So you're showing black granite, and then what is this graphic? It's a decal on the black granite made out of what?
It's not the decal. It's aluminum as well.
Uh-huh. And then are those light fixtures flanking the door?
Yes.
Okay. It's hard to read this elevation. Do you have, I mean, this rendering, do you have an elevation, just a line?
Yes,
elevation?
we do.
Can we take a look at that?
If you keep going. There is a larger one, but this one, this.
Okay. All right, those are my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Rooney?
The graphics, actually, this is a question for Graham. Do the graphics enter into the signage square footage?
It's a good question, if it is signage or not.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
All right, that was my question.
And Mr. Graham?
No questions.
And yes, my question was going to be about this motif of the girl and the dog and whether that is considered signage. So who determines that, Graham?
I need to go into the code, so just take a couple minutes. I'll be able to answer that shortly.
Okay, so while Graham is looking at that, Tom, could you just go over, you have 2 remarks?
Yep, yeah, so the applicant already addressed my second comment, which had to do with HVAC equipment, because I didn't see any noted on the drawings, but it sounds like the kitchen is moving, everything's gonna be in the back of the building. My concern was just the view from the street, and it looks like they are removing the existing kitchen exhaust, which is visible on the upper right part of the facade currently.
Correct.
So that'll be great. My first comment though had to do with the gooseneck lights. It seems like there, I don't know how many of them there are there, but I was wondering if we could reduce the number of them by 2 and make them fit within the existing opening or the new storefront. It just seems like there's a lot of light.
Certainly we could. Now, what about making them smaller? These are really large. They're about 1 foot. But what if I make them smaller, half the size? What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. You kind of have to see it, but I was wondering maybe even changing it to just
because this is the way they became this number. I sent first is maybe it's a personal test. I hate when I have one light in front in the center. So then it became 2 lights separated because the sign is about 5 feet. So then I put them at 4 feet. Then as I'm offsetting, like everything seemed to work really nicely. The issue, I agree, they appear a lot, but I think if I reduce the size, they would look much better. I'm open. My client.
No, that was my only comment. Actually, I did have one other thought. I didn't express it in the memo there, but though you're proposing to remove 2 of the columns, right? The metal columns that are in the location of your new piers. I was wondering.
Actually, the lolly columns are behind. Where it is in front, it's a flat piece of aluminum. If we can go to page 7, we can see it, and zoom there, we can see it's horrible detail what they've done. It covers 2 lolly columns that are behind. So
no, but it looks like you're removing 2 of them on either side of the door. No, within the plane of the storefront. It's always just nice to.
I believe I removed 2, but I don't think I'm removing these 2 here in the center. We can go on the floor plans. I have all the details. See, those are that's just a flat piece of aluminum placed in front of the lolly columns.
Right. But I'm just saying it's always nice to retain, structure just in case in the future, because there was a specific rhythm here for some reason.
The door is basically a very close location to where it is.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's fine, but I'm saying in the future, 50 years from now, it would be great if the columns were still there, hidden behind your material.
Let me see. I have my plans here. I believe that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, you have lintels for the brick. I gotta believe those are there to carry.
There are, yes. I have blow-ups detailed. Let me see which page. Those 2 columns I couldn't keep them. The issue is I had to support the granite, and those columns were kind of in the way. I tried to detail it to keep them there, but I had to do too much structural gymnastics. So I decided to replace that with CMU. And I consulted with my structural engineer. That appeared to be the best option. But yeah, those 2, I really tried, but it was because at the end I said there is no real reason it's going to be covered. But yeah, I agree with you. It would have been conceptually nice to keep them there.
Yeah, I'm just in the future, if somebody else comes along, it's always helpful to have part of the original structure there.
I have a question. Now that I'm looking at this, you're not proposing an awning, correct? No, you are proposing an awning.
Not as big and ugly as this one, but we are proposing awning.
They're proposing 3 awnings.
2.
One on the side. One in the alleyway.
Side stays. The one in the side stays.
Okay.
We might be replacing the material, but the rest stays. that one is existing. We're trying to match the same material as what we're putting in front, but the shape all stays.
Is it,
Can we go to the rendering, the front render, the first rendering? There, yeah.
and the band then that the awning is attached to over the door, what is it currently? Or will that all be replaced now with aluminum? Is that all the black now is?
Right now, the top of the granite, see, that's where I end the brick. The brick currently goes down a little bit more, maybe a foot or so. So I'll be removing about a foot of brick from there. And then there is a band of granite. I have details that you are welcome to look. I'm reinforcing behind. I'm going to have attachments through the granite to the steel reinforcement behind the granite.
And across the top, the black, there's dots now, white dots, 1, 2, 3.
That's a rendering. That's how the rendering program is
reflection.
Yes, the reflection of the light bulbs.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I thought maybe they could have been additional lights.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So structurally, you've worked this out with the granite with your engineer?
Yes.
Okay. So the architects on this commission, John, is that
Well,
something that
he's building a whole stone structure here. He needs the backing to carry all this. So
Right.
it's a lot of, they're doing a lot of work here to make
Yeah.
this facade. So yes.
I also worked 5 years for a stone contractor, so you can check my details. They almost look like shop drawings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I did just want to note, because the commission asked a question, in the signage section of the ordinance, 347-106, in the definition section, the definition of sign is any device, fixture, placard, or structure that uses any color, form, graphic, illumination, symbol, or writing to advertise, announce the purpose or identify the purpose of a person or entity, or to communicate information of any kind. So I think in that instance, I think that the all these additional features would constitute signage as they're unique to this business.
Can I just comment on that though, Graham? I think because it's attached to Madison's, I mean, I could imagine the girl in the corner and the dog on the side, and those are just decorative features. They aren't advertising Madison's per se. I think he could be a little bit more subtle and not have this big string that goes all the way around and turns it all connected. It could be a little bit more subtle. Like the girl could have just the rope and it just sort of disappears on the right and then it appears on the left and it appears again on the right with the dog. So, and without all these curlicues. I mean, I see it, but I like it, but it's maybe too much, but that's.
I think that maybe the leash is too thick. That's, but after spending hours on renderings and all that, then I'm saying, well, I will reduce that by half the thickness. I think that would have been much better.
I guess the question in my mind in terms of signage, Graham, it's a little bit like the mural on Park Avenue. They're going to be doing a big mural. Now they're decorating the side of their building. So where does decoration or mural or that separate from signage?
Yeah, I think so. In that instance, if that mural is not going to be connected to their business name, I think that this connection, the way that this is rendered, it links it together. If a new tenant was to move into this space, they may not necessarily want this leash traipsing through their new sign on the storefront. I think that's where the connection is. So I think if that is separated, like you were alluding to, John, then I think that would be viewed more as separate art elements on the facade rather than.
There you go. That's
directly
where I'm getting to. Yeah.
We can separate it from the name.
Yeah, and I would agree with that as well, that because the girl is aluminum and she's superimposed on top of the granite, correct?
Yes.
As is the dog?
Yes.
So it's like a standoff aluminum
Yeah.
cutout.
And then what do you do with the actual sign over the door, the letters? How are those created?
I have a detail, and they are solid aluminum. They're very thin, the actual letters, and then with studs that are attached to the backup of the granite. It's about 2-3 inches away from the face of the granite.
And is there illumination behind it?
There is no illumination. That's just the gooseneck lamps are going to provide lighting.
And Madison's will be white on top of the black?
Madison would be black, white, correct. And then Meet Me At would be just clear anodized aluminum.
Oh, I see. So, who else? We're open for discussion. I don't think everybody got a chance to speak.
Oh, I
Okay.
haven't spoken yet.
Okay.
Neither have I, so.
Okay. Caroline, why don't you go first?
Well, you know, I do have, the light fixtures are too many light fixtures. And then I also feel like this black granite is not a material that you see on Watchung Avenue at all. It's really sort of a very modest streetscape. So the glossy black granite, I just have a problem with. I don't think I can support that. And I think the signage is excessive as well. And I think that the awnings are awkwardly placed in relation to that signage. So I'm just having problems with this whole design.
Okay, Mr. Ronitz?
I would just kill the lights on the top, one left and one right. And then your spacing still works, one over one door, two over the other two doors. I would just kill the left and right light.
Okay.
I think glossy black, I think if it was honed black granite or something that wasn't so reflective, I think I would buy into it more.
We can have it honed. We can have it honed.
Yeah, I think that it'd be a little bit more subtle and soft. Other than that, I love the girl. I love the dog. I don't like the string that runs all the way around, but I think you can cut back on that a little bit. And I'll have to say, based on what I see in terms of the drawings and what I see here, this is a major investment here. And I'm support whoever's doing this and putting money back into the economy here and being positive about the future here. So I think it's great.
Thanks, John. Graham, by any chance, do you have a picture of the streetscape, the current streetscape, so we could see this in?
Page 14, page 14.
Page 14.
I think it might give us an idea.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And he's got the proposed below.
Oh, okay.
Major improvement.
Yeah, major.
And if the granite was more honed and subtle like that than the black polish, I think that, the rendering, I think, looks better than the other drawing.
Mr. Rooney, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I like the idea of granite. I think what might make it really set it off nicely is the band that goes around the granite. You can leave that polished, but everything else should be honed. The string running around, I have problems with it. As it is, maybe you can figure something else out with it, but I like the idea of the girl and the dog. And Meet Me at Madison's, that's very nice. and it's going to be a major improvement.
Yeah, I think I'll go there. We'll see what the
I-
food, see what the food's like.
Yeah, if you have parking like that.
Mr. Graham, what do you have to add?
Yeah, I may be the only one who likes the whole thing as is. I know it is a lot of lights up top, but it is very eye-catching. It's a fun, playful aesthetic in Watchung Plaza. I think it is a huge improvement over the current facade. And you know, I like the girl, I like the string. It's a shame that it can't connect to the signage, because I really like that. But you know, if the code is the code. But overall, I really think this is I'm very curious to see the next iteration with some of these adjustments. But overall, I think it's a great improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Has everyone had a chance?
Well, one other suggestion, I mean, putting aside the fact that I'm on the other side of the fence.
Right.
The awnings, I think it probably would look better if perhaps they were open on the sides. Just the way they frame the sign, it kind of boxes it in a way that you know, normally you have. That's just my thought.
Oh, okay.
I think it'd be lighter and nice. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Also would help with visibility of the sign as you're walking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Instead, it's kind of just wedged between.
I agree with that statement.
Okay, so before we vote on this, because this is a certificate of appropriateness, why don't we, Graham, could you just go over the conditions?
Or hang on one second.
If everyone's had a chance to speak?
Yes, yeah. So I had a couple of conditions written down. So one was use of honed granite for the storefront. And Mr. Rooney had suggested the edge be polished granite, but I didn't hear anybody else comment on that or their thoughts on the mix of the two finishes.
Yeah, I would keep it all honed, but
Whatever.
you know, whatever. Exactly. So you
Okay,
know.
so we can keep it. So the granite should be all granite used on the storefront should be honed.
Right.
The outermost gooseneck lights are to be removed, so there's a total of just 5 gooseneck lights on the storefront. The leash graphic is to be removed. The applicant is to return with a revised plan. The sides of the awning sides of the 2 awnings are to be open, and the applicant is to return for review of all finishes and materials to be used at the storefront.
Graham,
Yes,
can I have a point of clarification? Do we say that the leash is to be removed or to be removed from the signage? To be detached from the sign.
What?
I would say you would have to detach it in such a way that it doesn't look like it belongs to the sign. How's
Right.
that?
I'm just thinking about future tenancy of the space.
Right.
You know, and I mean, I hope
Well,
that is
they're gonna-
successful. Yeah.
No,
So,
they're going to remove that anyway. So
Yeah, it's not that difficult to remove, right?
I don't know. I mean, that's a question. Is this, you know, drilled into the panels of the granite? Is it in the mortar joints? If you remove it, are there holes in the facade? That, you know, and we're stuck in a repair situation. So.
I think it's best if you remove it completely, because then the letters are going to have to be mounted into the granite, correct? And if somebody comes along, they could actually put a board on top of that.
Yeah, that was going to be my other suggestion, was that the sign lettering should be mounted to a raceway panel, so that and not individually pin mounted into the granite.
That's a good suggestion. All right. And then everything, the materials, including the lighting fixtures, will come back to the revisions committee for the HPC. Okay.
Okay, I think we may have a public comment from someone, from Mr. Rabacki. Mr. Rabacki, are you on the line? Do you have a public comment that you'd like to make on this application?
Yes. Just quickly, I had the same idea that you did, Graham, as far as the sign and putting it on a separate board. distinct from the ribbon. My biggest issue is the lighting, and the two types of lighting, they don't match each other. They're set very, the lower ones are set too low. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, they do it further down the block, but I think that's a recessed storefront. I'm not sure about the storefront where the Japanese restaurant is, or the boho or whatever those places are, the hair and food place. But anyway, the lighting doesn't make any sense. The combination. I don't like goosenecks, and I don't like the lights on the each side of the door. So you can do that in the revisions committee, but they just don't match. Okay. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Okay, so
lighting.
those were the conditions, and so for final return to the revisions committee for review of all final finished materials, including the lighting.
And the position of the lights, that would be.
Well, I believe the sconces that the person from the public just mentioned, there's a code requirement for the height of those fixtures as well that are mounted to a facade. So the bottom of those fixtures might have to be, 6'8", something like that, but there is a code requirement for that.
Okay, well, that'll be discussed when it comes back. So with that being said, do we have a motion to accept this with the conditions as enumerated by Graham
Motion.
just now?
I move.
That's John, and
Yes.
second?
Second.
And I'll call the roll on this one. Mr. Graham,
Aye.
Mr. Reimnitz,
Aye.
Ms. Kane Levy,
I guess I'll go along with it.
that's an aye.
Yeah.
Mr. Rooney
Yes.
and Ms. Bennett.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard.
Looks forward to this.
Yeah,
This is,
look
this is
forward to it.
great. Wow.
Seems like it'll be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Salerno.
And
Thank you.
before we adjourn, Chair Bennett, I believe Mr. Rebecki had a comment also on the 211 Bellevue application. So I'm going to bring him back into the meeting so he can make that comment. Just give me one second. That was the rear facade water.
Okay.
That's right.
Mr. Rebecki, you're back on the line.
Okay, thank you, Graham.
Sure.
I assume procedurally you guys will fix this going forward, but there will be 211 Bellevue was heard by the HPC back in 2011. I think the application number was number 10, sometime in April. It has several exhibits, including photographs and interior designs showing the load-bearing walls and such. That I think would have been relevant to tonight's conversation, specifically about the glass in the rear. I think that's a good point about how you're going to turn the corner on this building with materials. I just don't see how you can do any kind of repair without understanding that. In short, there's just no way this should have been approved. Absolutely no way it should have been approved. And I think that because the applicant did not do basic research on this, and I think the onus falls on the applicant, although I think the HPC could have done a little bit more considering they had their own files on this subject. I think you have to rescind it or modify it or do something. But what you're doing now is just not
So
appropriate.
congratulations,
And Ira,
that
you
is
might want to
approved.
chime in on that.
Just some minor changes. Too
Hang
bad
on one
that
second.
they-
The applicant is still. Okay, apologies. Oh, sorry. I muted
Mr. Rebecki.
Sorry, Mr. Rebecki.
Yeah,
The applicant, the other
Oh,
applicant was
I don't know
speaking.
where I got I don't know if I got cut off at the end. My last thing was to ask Ira Krasik to chime in on this as far as the appropriateness of any motion made on that application, considering my comments.
Honestly, I'm a little bit lost on this, so I don't know that I have any comment, Frank.
Well, okay. Well, one is that you made a decision without public comment, and maybe it's not essential. I don't know the law on that. I'm sure the HPC can issue certificates of appropriateness without public comment, and that's fine. If that's the law, then I'm good with it. But if it's not the law, then I think you have to chime in on this.
Did we miss his comment during the presentation, Graham?
I didn't receive notice that there was a comment. I saw that we should have I guess we should have opened it for public comment for each of the applications.
Right.
According to my phone, I've been on the line for 2 hours and 21 minutes.
I don't believe, I have to take a look at it. I don't believe we're required to have public comment. It has been the practice of the board usually to ask any members of the public want to comment on applications in which the board is actually just makes a decision as opposed to recommendations. But I'd have to take a look. The question just hasn't come up. So I'll take a look at it, but
okay.
I don't believe it's a legal requirement.
I think from my experience way back in the day, and my memory might be faulty, is that I recall we had to reopen the hearing because we had forgot to solicit public comment. I know it's a procedural sticking point, but.
Well, to be frank, I'm not sure, so I don't want to be definitive.
No, I'm not asking you to commit to any position without researching it. I'm just saying I just asked that you research. And then my second comment would be that I think that there's enough substantially for the board or for the commission to look at every opportunity to modify or add to addendums, whatever, on this application, because I don't think you really addressed some of the comments you pointed out, especially Chair Bennett's comment, and the fact that the condition of the glass skylight, what I'll call the skylight, seems to be almost identical to the condition it was in 2011 when it wasn't a problem. So as far as the facts of the matter is concerned, I don't think that the applicant demonstrated a factual presentation of that the skylight needs to be removed, whether it's historic or not. It's not the issue. Same thing happened with Watchung Plaza with the pharmacy. They removed the glass because somebody said, look, you're just asking for problems, just take it out, it's easier. And I think the HPC should be most wary of anybody who says that and accept that at face value. I mean, what's the point of having an HPC if you're going to accept those comments at face value? Is that a fair characterization?
Well, first of all, 2011, I don't know how we would have gotten those that information. What are the reports and records? Have those been are they online now, Graham? I mean, is it possible to?
I don't think we haven't digitized back to 2011. No.
Okay. So,
Kathleen, I'm sorry,
yeah.
Chair Bennett.
Yes.
The zoning board, I think, Graham, you can support this or not, if it's true. I mean, but I think the zoning board will do research and pull prior resolutions on applications on issues where they, that that might be pertinent to the application of the day. I mean, clearly it's something else that has nothing to do with the application, but I think as a standard practice, I think the zoning board of adjustment does pull prior resolutions.
Well, we have to look to.
Yeah, I think in this case, I mean, the applicant, demonstrated to, us internally, I mean, this was a quickly filed application that there was an emergency situation regarding water penetration into the building. So clearly some condition has changed at the property since the prior application in 2011. And Mr. Connolly also testified during the proceedings that the condition of the, existing skylight roofing is in poor condition. And was not, supported, was not in a salvageable condition. I think that the applicant probably could have requested and completed a little bit more research with us internally, and I think that we have conditioned the approval such that there will be an iterative process back and forth with the revisions committee on all matters and all items going forward as the commission will review modifications to the plans pursuant to the conditions that were imposed by the commission, and also, modifications and recommendations as the applicant may move forward in future facade modifications and updates at the property. So, I think that given the situation, the HPC does have a great degree of latitude to, work with the applicant moving forward to address both the emergent condition, prepare the tarp condition at the back of the building, and also be cognizant of the prior approvals, which, we can work through and identify as a source, to address, all the situations as we move forward to fix the building.
Thank you. I mean, I personally, I really don't. I think the skylight is probably will turn out to be an historic part of the former bank building as it was in the 60s and maybe into the early 70s. I think that by the town standard of what's historic, I don't think it's considered historic. It's not even relevant. So, if it goes away, it goes away. Who cares? But I would clarify a couple of things. The brick, I didn't hear any testimony that the rear facade on the brick that matches the entryway into the plaza is suffering from any water damage. There's no reason to replace the brick from what I heard. So I'm not sure why they're replacing the brick there. I don't, the parapets, I don't even get the parapets. I mean, that you guys didn't talk about it, but that's fine. The only last thing I'll leave you with, though, is that this is visible from a public right of way, and that one of the things that prior to the commissioners serving now, that the prior commission tried to do under Ira Smith was truly improve the rear of these commercial areas, whether it be the crescent behind Church Street, whether it be Upper Montclair Plaza, whether it be the South End Business District. There's been a real emphasis on trying to not only improve it, but make it consistent with the character of what we're trying to preserve. And so I would just caution you to decide whether you want to continue that initiative or whether it's not a relevant initiative for this day and age. And I understand that, but it was something that was being done in prior commissions, and it's something you should look at and decide whether you want to do as far as policy. Thank you, though. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me tonight.
I just wanted to note, Mr. Rabacki, for the record, that the applicant in 211 Bellevue case is retaining the brick at the lower portion of the rear facade of the building, as noted on the submitted plans.
Oh, well, it doesn't. I'm sorry. Then I misunderstood the renderings that I'm looking at.
No worries.
Then I don't understand okay. Then I didn't understand the comments because I thought they were putting thin brick in.
The upper facade is to be thin brick.
Upper facade.
Where the wood is rotting.
Where the wood is rotting. They're replacing the wood facade with the thin brick.
Cool. sorry, then fine. Have at it. The second story is not worth saving.
Yeah, the thin brick is to be applied only to the second
Sorry.
story. The existing brick at the lower portion of the building is all to remain.
Okay, so then, you know what? Then fine, you put the metal roof over the skylight, you know, it was a period piece, and replace it would match the bank on the corner. So it'll have some continuity there. So that's fine. The parapets, though, I still don't get the parapets. Scale wise, they're just, you might, you know, is there something
Well,
yeah, that's been
that was a condition.
to discuss further.
What?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rebecki.
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Good night.
just let me comment on the public issue about the hearing. And there's nothing in the municipal land use law or in our zoning ordinance which establishes the Historic Preservation Commission that specifically says that public comment is required. However, on a certificate of appropriateness, it must be heard at a public hearing, quote, public hearing, unquote. And the commission really should, clarified its own rules, whether public hearing also includes comments from members of the public, because I think that would be how one would interpret it. Although it doesn't specifically say that. For example, the Open Public Meetings Act specifically says that the council has to set aside, the governing body has to set aside a certain portion of the meeting for public comment. There's no such analogous provision for this commission.
So going forward, after every certificate of appropriateness, I'll make sure to ask for if there is anybody with public, because it is under number 4 on the agenda that I asked for public comment. So it's not that I didn't.
No, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to answer the issue that was raised.
Okay, so going forward, I'll make sure.
But Chair Bennett, I would caution you there that to follow the council's standard, which is to offer general public comment in every meeting, and then for every ordinance hearing, a second hearing is a public hearing, and that's a separate public comment. The planning board, by example, only allows public comment on an application. They do not allow general comment. Further, if the interpretation is accurate by Mr. Karasek that is not required, then technically, whether you allow it or not, as a courtesy, the HPC does not allow public comment on a referral or an application by rule. A chair can make an exception, but that's where you're going as far as your commission is concerned. You're not allowing public comment.
That wasn't exactly what I said, actually. What I thought I said was that a public hearing is required on a certificate of appropriateness, and the question of what a public hearing entails, in my view, public comment would be part of what a public hearing entails. And I think the chair picked up on that and said that she would in the future do that.
That's fine, Mr. Karasek, that's fine, but you also don't have bylaws posted on the website. So that's, it's really, you got to dot the I's and cross the T's. I mean, if you're going to do this, do this. You're not going to do this, then don't do this. But right now, you're neither here nor there. That's my point.
Okay, thank you again.
I appreciate it. Okay, good night.
Good night. Next, we have no certificates or resolutions. And so at this time at 10:34, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night. All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Graham.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Right.